you told me a story yesterday that the director, Bernard
Rose,
he didn't think you looked Midwestern enough. Maybe that's a polite way of putting it. That he made you eat a little more than you might have.
Well, yes, he thought that I was too glamorous, and it was the first time anyone in show business told me I was too thin. And I had, that's what happens to you when you're a young actress. They always want you to be, a skeleton. And I, refused to do that. But then Bernard was bringing me pizzas. Do you know, he would bring like 2 and 3 pizzas to lunch. And he said he wanted me to look more natural, and so I cut my hair, and I didn't have to deal with makeup, and for just a little bit, unless I was getting hypnotized.
Yeah.
Then they had a little bit more. But it was great. I was constantly eating. It was fantastic. This is what I do anyway.
What was your first exposure to this material? You at all familiar with the Clive Barker story, or how did you first read this about this character, and what sort of? I almost said what hooked you about this character. I did not mean that. That's what I always say. No, but what was it that grabbed you about this character?
I got a call from my agent out of the blue one day saying this English director was interested in hiring you for a movie called Candyman. I hung up because he jokes around a lot, and I thought it was a Sammy Davis Jr. story. And I know I'm too close. So finally, I hooked up with Bernard. So many things happened to me on a Sunday. Hooked up with Bernard, and he told me, what the situation was, and I had to go through a series of tests. I had to meet with propaganda people, what they call the personality test.
Wow.
Who else is going to play that?
Listen, and when I got there, it was 8 in the morning, and they were drinking fresh squeezed orange juice out of these crystal carafes, buttering their croissants, and they weren't saying anything. And what am I here? I'm not a monkey on display. And I walked out. And Bernard called me and says, no, I want you, so it's all good. And then I had to, then he scheduled a lunch between me and you. Remember that bowl of soup we shared somewhere in Madsen? Yeah, we had to do it. That was 85 years ago, but I remember it because I thought you were such a luminescent actress. I don't think it's there anymore, but it was on La Cienega near Santa Monica. And they arranged the lunch for the scene. Yes, and the scene.
Yeah, that was like a chemistry.
I hypnotized you.
Yes, because you were so
I can't
handsome.
believe that a woman never doesn't remember it.
Oh, yes.
Come on, men remember everything, believe it or not.
Wow. God, I'm so glad you reminded me of that, because it was really,
It's about the process.
And we were kind of like,
We didn't know what to think.
what are we doing this thing? Like, it's really, But I knew Bernard, and because we were all friends for quite a while, so I was like,
And
no.
he still speaks highly of you, by the way. I see him and talk, because we're developing
Well, you
something.
stay friends.
Well, yes, he's friends, yes. But he's working on a new project, and your name comes up often.
We haven't received an offer.
Because you're such a busy actress, all the time. Good. Life has been good
But that
to
would
us
be really
25 years
cool
ago.
if you and I would be in the same film.
I think so, if you guys get along.
Well, I haven't seen him in many, many, many
I
years.
tried to talk to you about it on Friday. It's called Fingers. And I'm going to talk to him on Tuesday.
Thank you, you can be my new agent.
I'm still going to be, I've always told you, I would love to work with you again on like
Yeah.
normal people, perhaps. Enough of the love fest. Let's go back to the questions.
More of the love fest, please. So the time that you did shoot here, when this movie came out, I was living about 5 or 6 blocks from Cabrini Green. So honestly, in the city, and it's still to this day, to a certain degree, divided very strongly. So one side of the street is one thing, and And so I could live 6 blocks away from Cabrini Green and not even really notice it, and not even really, it didn't impact me very much. But I knew it was there, like you just kind of always knew it was there. But to go in there and shoot, even just watching, I just rewatched the film the other day, I'm just rewatching, I'm like, wow, like what were there risks being there? Was there like, what did they sort of do? Because I'd heard about all these deals they had to make to even shoot there for a little while. What was some of the hazards?
A lot of chicanery and a lot of deals on the ground that allowed us to be in there. But I remember, I don't know, you know, the other day I took a tour because I didn't actually work in Cabrini Green.
Yeah.
But they flew me out here in Chicago, so I just hung out for like 2 weeks. Went to Kingston Mines most of the time. Just I love the Kingston. Frank Pellegrino, I love you. But you know, I remember I had to go in and I met the people. I wanted to meet the community. And what struck
me too.
What struck me one time was that little store they had within the complex that everybody had to go to. And somebody said, you gotta get everything done by 10 a.m. Because after that, it's no man's land, right? Because we had 5 existing gangs with the same complex. And not only deals had to be made with the city, but there are some actual gangsters in the building, very openly.
That was part of the deal, right? That they cast them as extras, or
Yeah.
Well, that's because there was a lot of posturing. Now, I mean, almost everyone who lived in those apartments there were a lot of families.
Yeah.
And a lot of single mothers.
Yeah, a lot of single mothers, a lot of little kids, and so sometimes it was like they were very welcoming of us, because at first, you know, the circus shows up, you know, lights, cameras, trailers, we've got cops, security guards, and everyone was kind of like, wait, whoa. The way they are in any neighborhood we would show up for a movie. And so there was the gang that was my understanding that they ran the building that we were going to be using. And so Bernard, sort of being the mad Englishman, sort of, you know, they were just standing like really very, very young. I mean, they were teenagers. And so he went bounding over to them, and they were kind of like, what? and he was like, hello, listen, we need some blokes in the film. Would you like to be in the movie? And they kind of went from doing this to, and he was like, I just need you to stand around and look threatening. You can do that, can't you? and they were so enamored of being a part of the process that he was like, you need to look more mean. And so we were in, and we weren't too disruptive, and so we were, and ended up being really welcomed. And you know, there was some gunplay when we first got there, but it wasn't, you know, there was a big police presence around us, and I think that a lot of people, quite frankly, were really glad that we were there and we weren't making fun of them. That was what I think was really important to them, is that we weren't going, oh, look at this bad slum.
or even demonizing the whole.
We weren't demonizing
Yeah,
it.
right.
That was,
Other
a great,
than-
that was a great invitation to Bernard, by the way. but that all of this leads to the transformative nature of art going into a place and taking something that might be frightening and giving people purpose and hope. And like that. To this day, I get people that have lived in Cabrini Green that come up to me randomly all over the United States and say how much the art form meant to them, that it gave them dignity and pride.
Yeah, that has happened to me too.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And those are the jobs who live for.
Let's talk about bees. Because I still to this day, even just rewatching it, I can't tell if what's real, what's not real at all. But I guess it's all real, right? Like
Anytime that I was on screen,
Yeah.
bees were around, they were real.
on your face and in your mouth,
On my
and
body, on my legs, on my lips.
so how do they?
Yeah, there was no CGI stuff, all
Right.
of these, but we had a bee man.
Yes, Norman Gary.
A wrangler?
Yes.
Yeah, bee wrangler.
Very eccentric dude. One time he taught me, he says, I want you to meet the bees finally. I was like,
Yeah, I had to meet the bees.
Okay, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He brought us into the trailer, and then for me, he started, like, I knew he was a little eccentric. He says, and that's Harry, and that's Joe, and that's John.
He really cared about his bees.
He did, he loved them, and that also made me less fearful. Because every time I had to deal with them, it was a long process. I had to literally take a shovel, put them where they were, you know, and then put them on their own so they would stay there.
And then he had the little bee vacuum.
The bee vacuum.
He had this very, very gentle little, because there were animal rights people that would show up to make sure there were no bees harmed. And so the removal of the live bees, that was harder.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much having them on you,
Because
but
they would get agitated.
yeah, and you would just have to sit really still for a very, very long time as this tiny little gentle vacuum would collect the bees so he could put them back in their portable hive.
They take them to the trail.
Yes. Well, you got stung.
They got about 26 over the course of the training.
Oh my God, you never told me it was that.
On the first film or on all the films? All the three films, okay.
Maybe
10 stings on the
But
first
you
film.
know, these things hurt, so
Yeah.
you gotta take it, and manage. It's great.
But you were so cool about it. Like, I didn't even
Because I
know that
was
was
so
happening.
excited to be in a film with you and playing what has become a very memorable moment. I mean, it's 25 years ago. People, not to, every day, people come up and say something.
Yeah.
You know,
It's,
so we created
it's the
something
most
else.
asked about film, and somebody came with a press kit for me that I hadn't seen.
For the verse, yeah.
And there was the picture of us waltzing in your
Nice.
lair.
I love
That
it.
was my favorite part
Yeah, well,
of the
first
movie.
of all, that is the moment of the film, and they only used 6 seconds of it, because if you remember, it was
Yeah.
a much longer scene. And it emphasized, because it was very important to me, that the romanticism was front and center. This guy was killed, murdered, lynched, and this was the love of his life, and all they wanted to do was be reconnected. So that moment,
Yeah.
emphasized that. It was a beautiful scene.
I think was there, yeah. Absolutely. Finding a love story at the center of any horror film is pretty rare, and then to have it work like this is actually
Well, the
pretty
studio
great.
got cold feet.
I'm surprised.
This is America, after
Yeah.
all. Is someone named Laura in here, by the way? No? Okay, we met this fan earlier today. It was so beautiful. It was a young girl.
She's not here.
Fragile, but she came up to us and she knew lines. She had taught herself how to play the Philip Glass music
Oh yeah.
by ear, and she got the romanticism. She said,
Yeah.
"We saw the love."
A teenager, and
Teenager.
she just,
Young
like, it
teenager.
meant so much to her, and she got the real essence of the film and how much it meant to her, and she just went into such detail, and so Tony brought her over, because I saw that she was standing like this and she was crying.
Yeah.
So then you brought her over to me, and then she was telling, I'm getting chills again. And then I started crying because it was so beautiful, because it was not, this is a movie that was not just about the slasher and the gore, and there's a place for those, because we all love those movies. That's why, I'm a fan too, but this was not that. And it was nice to see somebody that this was new to her and that she got it,
Did I read somewhere that you took some sort of, was it dance classes together, just something to sort of make your movements together look a little more elegant?
Yes, we had to take waltzing lessons, and I was terrible.
No, but
And I had a dance background, and I had 2 left feet, and you had to kind of like lead
Do
me.
you remember what street that was on?
That was on the 3rd, right next to Cedars.
Just testing. Because I mean, I'd never walked before, but we knew it was so. It gave us the elegance that we wanted. I think it was like 6 sessions or something like that. 3, 6.
Yeah, because I wasn't any good, so we had to go a number of times.
No, but it connected us before.
Yeah.
We got on the set.
Because it was before shooting, so we had this time to for me to be in his arms and for him to sweep me off my feet.
I have individual questions for you, and then we'll throw it to you guys. I want to ask about the costume, because I don't get the costume, even though it's really cool looking. It's like elegant, it's stylish, but it's not period from the period where he was killed, I don't think, or maybe part of it is. But
well,
I'm just wondering, can you just talk about how it all came together?
Leonard, you remember Leonard's last name? The costume designer.
Yes, I think so.
What is it?
Well, it was Leonard, wasn't it?
No, Leonard is his first name. It's his last name.
Don't know.
Okay, Leonard.
I'm terrible with names, you
Yeah.
know that.
Well, he wanted to create a collage of different periods. So
Okay.
we have backstory that you guys don't even know. Candyman's Granville was his original name, and his father was a shoemaker. One of the first African American shoemaker. So his shoes were from his dad. coat was, and Randall was an artist before he became a monster. The whole significance of the hook, that was his painting, that was his brush hand. He chopped it off, jammed the hook in, and then I went on this eternal search for heaven. But I didn't have to change the clothes, so unfortunately.
No, it was so beautiful though that you were such, you were such an elegant man, and you were such a presence, when I first see you at the other end of the parking lot.
I love that scene.
God, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then with your character, I mean, a part of the film is about exploring the way that different cultures and different people use mythology or urban legend to sort of get through whatever's going on in their lives. And of course, it turns out one of these is true, but I'm just wondering, did you do any actual research to play that character who's writing her thesis on this? Did you dive into that a little bit just to understand it a little bit more?
I did, but I didn't go to college.
Okay.
So I had to ask my mother, who is, my mother is Google. I mean, she just knows everything. Yeah. And so I asked her about the experience, about what that would be like, and what's a thesis. I'd only done one in high school, and why would you do that? Why would you just? Because that was one of the flaws about Helen, is that she thinks it's perfectly fine just to walk into that building, and so it was so my mother was like, when you love learning, it's because you're curious. So it's all about her curiosity and and her search for knowledge. And so it was an interesting juxtaposition between me and Casey, because Casey's the one that's nervous about going into Cabrini Green. And I think as this, white woman, I can just walk right in there and ask a lot of questions. That's part of what is, she's not thinking really about humanity. She just wants the knowledge.
I have a feeling I already know the answer to this, but it's out there in the world that they're making another Candyman movie, and I'm just
They start in 10 days.
just stating, what's that?
They start in 10 days.
Oh wow, okay. Jordan Peele producing it, co-writing it, I believe, not directing it. And your name is on the IMDb page. Can you say anything about anything? It's not. I know it's not a remake.
Yeah,
which
unfortunately, there's no comment because,
I have to. Someone here was going to ask if I know.
Yeah, we can't. We're not allowed to
That's
say
good, that's fine.
anything. But
And I'm encouraged by the fact that neither of you can say anything. So. Okay, questions? Anyone? Yes, sir.
I was wondering, I actually wrote an article on Candyman for a magazine called Paris Cinema many years ago, but the article was about the mystique of Cabrini Green itself and how that plays into the tension in the movie. And I was wondering if you guys kind of could give your thoughts on how that played into your characters and how you viewed it from their perspective.
I was fearless. This is my tribe. It was good. They liked seeing me, and because I really didn't really have scenes in Cabrini, people, as I said earlier, come up to me years later who actually lived there to tell me about mysterious graffiti. Apparently, there's a theater here in Chicago where there's some graffiti that still remains. So, everybody loved that film. And those that didn't, it's fine. It was who we trust. We had a great time, and I think the impact remains. Did you have experience in autograph?
Well, no. I think we were there for such a short period of time, and we were just sort of using the exterior. I mean, the elevators didn't work, and it wasn't practical to shoot in an actual building, no matter where it had been, because we needed to have removable walls and the lair and bees, and it had to be in a controlled environment. So that's really why we didn't. All the rest of it had to be in a studio. And so it was, yeah, it was, I was glad I had time there, but actually, years before I started working as an actress, I used to do singing telegrams, and I don't sing, so you can imagine. And somebody sent a singing telegram to a little business next door to Cabrini Green. And so I'm driving there with this balloons and a tinsel grass skirt and a top hat, and I'm followed by like 3 cop cars. And so I'm like, be cool. And making sure there's like nothing in the car. And so then I pull over, and before I get out of the car, this cop pulls up, roll down the window. What the are you doing in that outfit? And I go, I'm an actress and I'm delivering a singing telegram. And they go, just do it, get out of here. And I was like, why? I was just so naive. Everything seemed fine to me, but the cop's presence was, I thought it didn't feel like it was necessary. And so I had that, like, looking up at those buildings, like, oh, that's, because like you said, there was this, Cabrini Green ended right here, and downtown was a block away. So there was, like, you kind of didn't realize that there was anything wrong until you saw how neglected the buildings were. So actually being able to, years later, go and find out more about it was really cool, really cool.
Yeah, right there.
Nowadays, we're all kind of tied up in prequels with every movie nowadays, so I don't know the backstories or anything. Looking back, do you think or do you wish maybe they had delved more into the story between Helen and Candyman and given more of that story? As well as, actually, it always struck me as kind of funny that they really don't talk too much about Helen's relationship with her husband. I think it was deliberate, because there wasn't the romance. But you kind of wish like maybe they would have done that right away, like right after.
I think that part of it should have been mysterious, because that story of who Helen really is in her soul and who we were in a past life, I mean, that had to, I think, roll out a little bit slower. But I agree with you about the waltzing and your poetry and the painting, and I wanted them to do like a flashback of him painting the nude portrait of, well, I guess I couldn't do that in this movie, but it would have been nice to see a little bit of them
But the
back
artistry.
then. Yeah, the artistry of it.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Yeah, did you meet or talk to Clive Barker?
Yeah.
He would show up on set. He was awkward, he was flattered, but he also was a little jealous that he didn't get to do the comedy.
Yeah. Because it was a short story,
Yeah.
that you probably know, that he wrote, and then Bernard took that and
Totally adapted
it into the story that it became. So, he would come and sort of look around and approve. But, I felt like he wanted to be in charge. I don't blame him, but
His story is set in like Liverpool or something. Isn't it like
completely
it's
different.
totally
It's a
different?
monstrous
Yeah.
person. I'm so glad that I didn't have to wear any prosthetics. It's great. I've done prosthetics, but I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I didn't want to.
Yeah, back there.
With the newer documentary, I don't have a good sense about the impact that documentary's had outside of being just a horror fan, but that horror noir,
Yes.
you found any difference in interacting with fans or different types of fans that you're interacting with now at conventions or?
Well, I think it should be easy to tell. I actually love my fans. I love you guys. We wouldn't be here without you, and certainly we wouldn't be here without the work.
Last one. Yeah.
You mentioned Philip Glass's music, which I think is really great component to that movie and the sequel. I don't really ever see the actors talk about the music
the music was vital. I loved it. And when they came out with that, did you see the Laserdisc thing of the music or the translation to record? And Philip, according to Bernard, Philip, he didn't know what he had signed on for apparently, and then he did
Yeah,
it.
because he refused to do movies before that.
But then he didn't really get it when he first saw it, but he's come to love it. He's actually, I saw somebody had something, a video that had his name signature. I've never seen his signature before. So it's great. So yes, the music, our DP, Tony Richmond, Bernard, the cast, Chicago, Green, all of it led to a one-of-a-kind experience.
Yeah, it really does. I think the music, one thing I also want to say about his music is there's, and this has to do with how the Candyman character hypnotizes, puts you in a kind of an alpha state, a hypnotic state. And I think from the opening of the film, I think the film does that to the audience. The overhead's it's slow, and the music is Philip Glass, and I think it puts you, sneaking into theaters, which I love to do when I have a movie, and sneaking into the back of the theater, people are got their popcorn and they're doing all their thing and taking off their coats, and you can see everyone just kind of, they settle in.
You remember when they had the debut of the official in Toronto, and we were all there, including Michael, and the place was packed, and it was my first time seeing it, and the music came up, and the people were just enthralled.
Yeah.
They were like hypnotized. It's like the work.
It's nice when, the movie works when the credits are rolling and nobody moves, and it's like, even though there's a big bang at the end of the movie, a big horror bang, but it was this thing of that this movie is an experience, and it moves you very deeply, I think, and so that was quite a thing, because I'd never had a movie that did that before.
Definitely. I know that Bernard for a long time he wanted to reunite us, and he wanted to do a Bride of Candyman thing where it was more an honor to Elsa Lancaster and others who come before us, but to really get into what would have happened in that moment with the fire onward.
Yeah.
What would happen if we teamed up and destroyed the world with love?
Those people there, please get around, go get your pictures taken with them in a few minutes.
Photo op.
And Virginia and Tony, thank you both so
Yes.
much for coming out.